adjective nouns, commonly confused words, use of italics, use of plurals, officiales, use of quotes, sexism in language, and unnecessary words. So this is the scope of our study today. So we will go directly to the nature. Last day we had discussed about mechanical editing. We have seen these different areas of mechanical editing. As because the entire course is related to the students of English language and literature, we are mainly focusing our attention to the language essentials that are necessary for copy editing. So grammar and usage and content editing, these are very important. The goal of copy editor is to enforce the rules while respecting personal stylistic preferences. So at times this can become difficult as some writers view grammatical corrections as a challenge to their intellectual ability or professional identity. Therefore, copy editors are encouraged to respect the author's preference, especially in case of creative writings. So if it is acceptable. So creative writers have license to experiment with language. So if a writer has written something, so before rectifying that or before changing, replacing the word, exact word, so we must consult the author. Nevertheless, in technical writings, we should always look for the errors. Three types of errors that we identified yesterday. These errors are to be identified and rectified properly. This practice is complicated and further by volatile language conventions. Even the language conventions are volatile and dynamic. So books on grammar, even usage, they often disagree. There are different types and interpretations. Content editing consists on reorganizing or restructuring a document properly, and this often involves inconsistent parts that are to be identified within the content, and whatever variations are there, they should be identified. The copy editor should fix the content by rewriting or heavily editing it. Today we will learn how to edit, how to copy, proofread the text. The copy editor will often point out any difficult passage for the author to resolve on his or her own time. So interactive copy editing is also done, especially in the print industry. Publishing houses often interact with the authors in order to rectify the script. The editorial suggestions are often provided to the authors, writers. Copy editors are not responsible for factual correctness of the document. Okay. The fact that is given by the author, usually factual correctness is the responsibility of the author. Nevertheless, we should always keep our concentration because writers often commit typographical errors. So cross-checking the information, even the factual information, should be there. So they can provide comments for the author or any information. So if any kind of confusion is there regarding dates, regarding the data that is provided by the author, so consultation must be done or correction. If it is simple factual error, correction should be done. If the statement is untrue, that correction should be done, such as the year discrepancies or misleading ideas. Such fact checking is acceptable for copy editors who know the document subject matter. A copy editor therefore also should point out any kind of biased language. So nowadays we always talk about neutrality in language. So it should be gender neutral, so it should be race neutral. So such type of language that is not biased, that is encouraged nowadays in the print industry without even infringing the author's meaning. If the author has intentionally used that particular word, this includes material that might form the basis of a lawsuit alleging libel, invasion of privacy, obscenity. All these are seen by the copy editors. So they are a kind of censors. Censor board type activity has to be done by the copy editor, especially the editors of the publishing industry. Some see the censoring biased language as political correctness. So we should always look into those expressions that are politically incorrect. So politically incorrect means that are biased. So some kind of expression that might offend someone. Freedom of expression has its limits. So freedom of expression does not mean that you can have the license to hurt the sentiments of others. So even the copyright editor has that power and privilege to suggest changes to the author. Any kind of biased language, political correctness, and the copy editor should always distinguish between the work that is to be done. Okay, whether the correction is to be done intentional or the views that are expressed that are of the author, and author is purposefully trying to present that. So as a censor, the offensive language, especially according to the field of discourse, the language has to be filtered by the copy editor. So this is grammar and usage and content editing portion. That means the copy editor is also responsible for what is going to be printed. Different aspects of copy editing should be there. So we have correlating parts, type coding, and permissions. The manuscript permission will require copy editor to correlate the parts within it. Copy editors must carry out the following tasks in the process. What are the tasks? So we can just list the task. Verify any cross-reference that appears in the text. This is a must, especially when you are editing a journal, an article that is for publication. As a copy editor, you must cross-verify or cross-check the references that are cited. So check the numbering of footnotes whether they match. Often we find that in the Word format, the footnotes do not match. So it is a task of the copy editor to check whether the footnote is actually matching, endnote is actually matching with the number that is given, the tables and illustrations. The copy editor should also specify the placement of tables and illustrations, check the content of the illustration against the captions and the text, read the list of illustration against the illustrations and caption, the table of content against the manuscript. So cross-checking, comparing both these, whether in the manuscript and the typeset, everything is same or not. So read the footnotes, endnotes, and in-text citations against the bibliography. Even in the bibliography, it is cited. So when in the parenthesis, you are mentioning the source, and in the bibliography, that source is not cited. That has to be cross-checked. And check the alphabetization of the bibliography or reference list. Usually in selected bibliography, the books are listed in an alphabetic order. Even in works cited, the list is done in an alphabetical order, following the PMLA style or APS style or say Chicago manual. That has to be done in a chronological manner, alphabetic order. So that has to be checked by the copy editor. Copy editor therefore has a lot of responsibility to do. Some of these manuscripts require special cross-checking. Okay, special cross-checking. How a text, how to, in a how to text, say how to do this, the copy editor might need to verify the list of equipment or the parts matches with the instruction given. Say a cooking book is there and you are going for a proof checking of that. So it is the preparation of samosa and the items that are given is for chicken chop. Okay, so that correction should be done. Whether the things that are listed there, the menu recipe that is listed there, that is in tune with the recipe or not. Similarly, in conduct books, in guidance books and conduct books, this is a must. And children's story books, children guidebooks, textbooks, these are to be checked thoroughly. The second word is type coding. What is type coding? Type coding has been defined as a process of identifying which sections of the manuscripts are not regular running text. These portions of the text known as elements include the following. So what are type coding? So type coding is identify the type, the sections within the manuscript that does not form a part of the running text, like part and chapter numbers, titles and subtitles, heading and subheading, list, extract, displayed equations, table numbers, source lines, footnotes, figure numbers. So these are not the body of the text. Okay, so you have to identify the sections of the manuscript that are not in the body of the text. Okay, running text. Say in this particular slide, these are given in bulletins, small bulletins, and this is the title. So the title is different from the body of the text. This entire is the body of the text. And in the last two paragraphs, we have the running text. It is the copywriter's job to type code. This section is entirely a running text. So it is the copywriter's job to type code, make a note of all the manuscript elements for the publication designer. The hard copy editors are usually asked to pencil in the type codes in the left margins of the manuscript. On-screen copy editors may be asked to insert type codes at the beginning and end of each element. Finally, if the manuscript contains long quotations from a published work that is still under copyright, the copy editor should remind the author to acquire permission to reprint said quotations. So in some cases, the quotations are not in the public domain, and that requires permission. Even the photograph that you are printing in the text, that requires permission. Copyright regulations are there. The same goes for the reprinting of tables. If you are taking a table from, say, Amartya Sen's book, Poverty and Famine, and trying to place that in your research paper, first of all, you should cite, give the citation, and if the table is copyrighted, you should seek for the permission of copyright. Okay, especially as editors, if you work as an editor somewhere, so every individual article requires this permission from the author, from the writer. So copyright permission has to be taken. Illustrations that appear in the prints. So such rules vary for reproduction of the unpublished materials, say letters, diary. Even in case of letters, if you have got a copy of a letter from the library, you have taken a photo, and then you want to use that letter in a research article, that has proper citation has to be done and permission has to be sought, because it is not in the public domain. By public domain, I mean things that are published, okay, and available in the public domain, okay, not kept as manuscripts. Now I come to the processes. What are the basic procedures that every copywriter must follow? So the system for marking changes to the author's text. These are the marking procedures. Today we will deal with the marking procedures also. A process for querying the author and the editorial coordinator. Okay, so you are querying, asking the author or the editorial coordinator. That process has to be there. A method of keeping track of editorial decisions. This is called record keeping. So whatever editorial decisions you are taking, you should keep a track of that. And the procedure for incorporating the author's review of copy editing into a final document. So this is called cleanup. So previous drafts are usually cleaned before the final publication of the final rectified manuscript. Several draft copies are required, say first proof, second proof, third proof, and these are to be recorded, kept. Only when the final copy is ready, the proof copies can be destroyed. In some cases, proof copies are also kept, manuscript copies are kept in the leading publishing houses. These systems were originally developed in an era before that of computer. But over time, these procedures were adapted for a digital on-screen space. So digital on-screen space also we can save. So any kind of proof copies we can save. Each medium has its own affordances, and although a copy editor may prefer one editing process over the other, copy editors are practically required to use both the techniques. Okay, the techniques, in print and on screen, both the techniques are to be learned. Say Statesman, the sub-editors nowadays, they do on-screen editing job. But even on-screen editing job, that soft copy is written in the PDF format. These are kept as record. Hard copy editing, hard copy you understand, that is print copy, printed copy. Okay, traditional markup copy editing, hard copy editing is still important because screening text for employment may be administered in hard copy. Even the test, usually the tests that are taken nowadays for appointment as sub-editors or copy editors or say proofreaders, these are done in hard copy. Also the author whose text the copy editor is editing may prefer hard copy markup. So hard copy, these are converted into PDF and stored. Copy editors need to know the traditional markup. There are several symbols for copy editing, and a copy editor must be aware of these markup because these marks are universally accepted. So if you are just putting the mark arbitrarily, the typist might not understand. So editor's task, copy editor's task is to identify the errors and then rectify the errors with the help of symbols. These symbols are traditional markup, especially in case of documents and materials. And these markups are not available in the electronic media. So that's why in major publishing houses, they use the traditional hard copy editing. Okay, as because in the software, that markup is not yet possible. Changes can be recorded. Okay, in the electronic mode, the changes can be incorporated, recorded, but the markups are not possible. So when editing in hard copy, all the participating parties are editor, author, typesetter, and proofreaders. They all must understand the marks the copy editor makes. And therefore, a universal marking system for copy editors that signifies these changes exists. And this is currently used worldwide across languages. Okay, across languages. Although the punctuation marks, the symbol marks are different, but across languages nowadays, the same proofreading marks are used. This is also why the copy editor should write legibly and neatly. So it is not the doctor's prescription that the copy editor is doing, because copy editors should be very clear in rectifying the errors and marking those. Copy editors working hard copy write their corrections in text directly, leaving the margins for the querying. Usually the copy editors is asked to write in a bright color, preferably red is used, so the author and other parties can easily recognize the editor's change. Whatever change is done with the proofreading markups, those are to be done in a bright color pen. Usually red color is used in copy editing. So on-screen editing, nowadays we are moving towards the digital technologies. So more editing projects are being done on computers and fewer in print. If there is a digital version of the text the copy editor is editing, they can more easily search words, run spell checkers, generate clean copies of messy pages. The first thing copy editors must do when editing on screen is to copy the author's files as the original document. Okay, first you have to preserve the original document. So you have to preserve that. And then that after preserving the original document, the editing work can be done so that we can just see the markups of the change document. Each word processing program provides various options on how an editor markups are shown on screen and on the printout. On-screen editing mainly differs from hard copy editing. In fact, that the copy editor should edit more cleanly on screen, refraining from the saving parts of words, and be very careful in maintaining the proper line spacing. So even the style, the formatting is done by the copy editor when the copy editor is doing the digital. So it is not only the marking the errors, pointing out the errors or suggesting the corrections. Here the task of the copy editors is also to rectify the errors. Errors in grammar, so errors in the construction, the composition, as well as errors in the style. All these are to be rectified by the copy editor on screen. So different types of programs are there, and we can use such programs in order to rectify. Usually Word format is used. Then we have page makers. I will come to the list of that. So what is querying? Copy editors often need to query their authors in order to address questions, comments, or explanations. Most of these can be done in the margins of the text. So the text has margins, and on the margins, the queries are written. Okay, most of these can be done in the margins of the text or the comment section where on screen. On the screen also, at the bottom of the screen, say, here also we have a comment section. Can you see? Even in the PowerPoint, there is a comment section. So you can mark that in the comment section also. So copy editor must reconsider or consider when to query and the length and tone of their queries, as asking questions often seldom, cryptically, sarcastically can result in a kind of negative relationship between the copy editor and the author. There should be a very good relationship between the copy editor and the author, because both of them are working together to produce a text. Reciprocal relationship should be there. It is not a kind of evaluation of the text. Rather, it is rectification of the text in consultation with the author. So we just go through a short history of this development. So printing press, as you know, Gutenberg introduced printing press in Germany. Later on in England, Caxton came. In ancient China, we have the printing technologies developed. Helographic symbols were used. But in English printing, 15th century opened the doors for the first printing houses in Europe. Even after the invention of the printing press, and on today, the editor's job is to correct perceived mistakes. Within these printing houses, there are a variety of employees, one type being correctors, or as they are referred to today as copy editors or editors. The biggest difference between the monastic copyists and copy editors is that copy editors leave edits as suggestions. They can be rejected by the writer. These printing houses establish procedures for editing, preparing the text and proofreading, and specialist corrections ensure the text followed the standards of time. Before the printing press, monastic copyists altered words or phrases they thought were odd, under the assumption that the copyists before them had made a mistake. This is what led to so much variety in standard texts like the Bible. Even in Indian context, we have the copy, means handwritten manuscripts, and these manuscripts were copied. Say Babarnama is a text that was copied by the copyists, and while copying, if the copyists think that this spelling is wrong or the expression is not clear, some changes were done, and these changes gradually develop into reclensions. It alters the check. So this was before the printing press was there. So this alteration was possible in the manuscripts. Manuscript is something handwritten. After the globalization of the book from 1800 to 1970 came the rise of American writers and editors. So Maxwell Perkins, sought out by writers such as Fitzgerald, Hemingway, Woolf, because he greatly improved the work of these prominent authors with his editorial eye. And nowadays the job of the editor has increased, and writers must employ good writers, especially the best-selling writers. They must depend heavily on the editors, because editors can create text out of whatever the author writes. So Perkins was known for editing, guiding, and befriending his writers. So the times were changing, and we have this kind of incorporation of a new. So after the text is written, the copy editor is therefore revisiting the text and rewriting the text in consultation, of course, with the author. In late 19th century, the role of an editor was to decide if a manuscript was good enough for publication or not. So all the manuscripts do not have that. So editors, they can also choose and select. The role of an editor and publisher became more distant, although there was a newfound relationship between editors and authors. Thoughtful editing did not end. So copy editors were employed at various publishing houses. Even today, they are being employed, magazines, journals, and even by private authors. So authors nowadays employ two types of people usually. One is copy editor, and the other is a person who can sell. Okay, who can sell that copy to a highest bidder in the publishing house, search for a good publisher. So they are called literary agents. So this job of literary agent is also very interesting. A lot of scripts are being sent. You have to select for the writer. Even the literary agents are commissioning the writers to write text. So Amitabh Ghosh has a literary agent, and also copy editors employed by Amitabh Ghosh. Even the publishing house, say Arundhati Roy's publishing house, they employ the copy editors who work in consultation with the author in order to improve the text. So copy editors were employed at various publishing houses, magazines, journals, and by private authors seeking revisions of their works. So some copy editors were even employed by public relations and advertisement firms who also wanted the cooperation and support. So valued strong editing practices for their business. So these have become a part of the printing industry, publishing industry. The most important part for the copy editor is the symbols of copy editing and proofreading. As I said earlier, the symbols that are used by the copy editors today are based on those that have been used by proofreaders since the beginning of publishing. So these are rule governed and prescriptive in nature. These are not descriptive in nature. So these are prescribed, and as a copy editor, these symbols are to be memorized by the copy editors, though they have undergone some changes over the time. Exact beginnings of the copy editing language used today, we do not know. We do not have a history of that. It has a long history. Copy editing as a practice has not experienced any extreme upheaval other than the desktop publishing revolution of 1960. Printing technology has changed a lot, but the process by which the text is copy edited, rectified, this has simply moved from the hard copy format to the digital format, but the processes, as we identified, has remained more or less the same. This phenomenon began as the result of a series of inventions that were released during the middle of the decade and refers to the growth of technology usage in the fields of copy editing, namely the development of computer, Macintosh computer. The word processors came. The Arundhati Roy is the god of small things. When she was composing this text, she has the basic processor, word processor she used for processing the language. So as an author also she was working, and then the editor also worked on that. So desktop laser printing came, HP printers, the software and the desktop publishing. The PageMaker is universally nowadays used for creating the editorial texts, copywriting text. So this allowed the revolution to begin by allowing both the individuals and publishing agencies alike to cheaply and effectively begin to edit compositions entirely on screen rather than by hand. Desktop publishing revolution morphed the copy editing process into the practice that we are following today. So as a copy editor, along with Word, MS Word, you should also be aware of PageMaker. PageMaker is an app. It almost resembles the Word, but it has different technicalities that has to be mastered. So for desktop publishing especially. So it has that command for direct publishing. Before printing a text, so the raw copies are to be taken out, the films are to be taken out, and these films are then sent to the publishers. So in the laser machine, the prints. So inverted images are used usually in the print copies. So that PageMaker has that process. Word does not have. With Word, you can go for direct printing, but you cannot have publishing. So in the publishing industry, the book format requires some kind of negatives. The files are to be inverted in printing. That is there in the PageMaker. So most copy editors today rely on more modern WYS, WYG, what you see and what you get, not the inverted copy text processor. Nowadays it has developed. So Microsoft Word, what you see you can get printed. So this is based on the original PageMaker. So even the Word today is based on that original PageMaker that was used in the printing industry. So in the digital age, the roles and responsibilities of a copy editor have changed. So from 1990 onwards, copy editors learned pagination electronically. Previously, we had to put that pagination at the bottom manually. And then the blocks were to be set. Now this can be done electronically. It is very important. Pagination is very important in the copy editing process. They could now look at different pages of a text on multiple screens, easily edit them, especially in the newspaper. That electronic images are very important for on-screen editing, as opposed to the pasting them by hand on board previously on a large page, so that you are doing newspaper cutting, that where the reports were arranged and pasted. But nowadays, we find that there is a change in the process, and that change has been incorporated nowadays. This technological advance also required that copy editors learn new software such as PageMaker, Quark Express, Adobe InDesign. Modern copy editors are often required to edit for digital as well as print versions of the text. So one-man show. A copy editor has to learn so many things today. Digital copy editing requires copy editors to understand the feeds that are given. Okay, random feeds that are given. So from different places, the feeds are entering, especially in the editorial text when you're sitting, a lot of information reports are coming in, and these feeds are to be taken into consideration. Social media such as Twitter, Facebook, hypertext, you have to manage a lot of medium. So hypertext markup language. So what should be accounted for this in this digital age? Information is constantly being released. So online versions are published. Editors of the website BuzzFeed commented that sometimes they simply can't get every post before it is published. So even they have to leave space, and automatically that feed is inserted. While copy editors still do the traditional tasks such as checking for fact, grammar, style, writing headlines, some of their duties have been pushed aside to make way for technology. Nowadays, copy editors have to design page layouts. That is another aspect. Designers, although designers are there employed, but it is also the copy editors to fit in into the design, the content. In some magazines or journals, the word limit is given because of space adjustment. So if a space, say 5 inches tall and say 2 inches wide, that space is provided for an article, for a comment, or say for a matrimonial ad. So that has to be put into that space, either by increasing or decreasing. The font size has to be kept same. So the matter has to be adjusted according to the space that is provided, especially in the advertisement world. So advertisement is a different area. In advertisement, we have a different kind of employment, and there usually copywriters are employed. Okay, so not copy editors, rather copywriters. So can you see on the screen? Yeah. So this is a book on copywriting rather than copy editing. So you can see on the screen. So it is a book on copywriting. Okay, it's not copy editing. So here we have all the conceptions, how the entire page setup is made. So this is a different thing. But usually we have the copy editors tasked with doing the basic content editing. Copy layout editors and producer or the designers, they are employed by the publishing house. Say the cover page designer, okay, they are different sort of people. But the content that is there in the cover page, that has to be proof checked. Okay, but what the design will be, picture, images, that is done by the designers. So computer-based copy editing and publishing. We now come to this computer-based copy editing and publishing. Traditionally, the copy editors would read a printed or written manuscript, manually marking it with the text. At sizable newspaper, the main copy text often is shaped, U-shaped. The copy desk chief sat in the sort, say, so slot man, while copy editors were arranged around. So I'm just skipping this portion. Okay, this is just information related to copy editing. So new developments are there in copy editing. We just want to know these developments. So technological development, cloud storage has come nowadays. So online cloud-based editing is now being done. Say for a single word format, word editing is done by different editors. Okay, and it is stored in the cloud. So anyone can access, anyone can see what is being edited, what is being changed. So if I put this entire PowerPoint in the cloud storage, you can also access this one. And whatever change I am doing this on the screen, that change will be there seen by you. So this type of processes come very recently. So cloud storage allows contemporary copy editors and writers to upload and share files across multiple devices. Online word processors such as Google Docs. In Google Docs, if you have got a Gmail account, you can go into the 9 dots that are there on the right top of the screen of a Google. So there you can find Docs. Okay, Google Docs. If you just move into Google Docs, you can work there, save the files in the Google Doc. So Dropbox, Zoho, OpenGoo, Buzzwords, all these allow users to perform a number of tasks. Each processor had its advantages and disadvantages based on the user's preferences, but primarily allows users to share, edit, and collaborate on document. Okay, so I will come to this in the next class. So usually I'm using this Chicago Manual of Style. I'm prescribing this Chicago Manual of Style for proofreading. And today I will be showing you some other manuals. I've sent you both, and I will go through that manual just for hand-on experience. So I'm stopping presenting this PowerPoint, and I will be sharing the other two. So I would start with the copy editing or proofreading editing symbols. What are the type of symbols that are used in copy editing? Can you see something on the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Proofreading and editing symbol. Okay, this PDF I have sent you on mail. So your task is to read this page, and I'm just browsing through so that you can see what is this. Proofreading symbols are used to identify mistakes and to state the needed correction. The listed below are the most common proofreading symbols, along with explanations and examples of each. So paragraph change. If you want to change a paragraph, it is a continuous text and you want a paragraph break there. So you should put this symbol. This particular symbol has to be used there. Okay, capitalize the lowercase letter, lowercase, understand? Small letters. Okay, lowercase in print, copy editing, lowercase means small letters. So if the name of a place, India, is written in lowercase, you want to capitalize the first letter, I. So you have to put these 3 marks under I in order to capitalize. So use a lowercase letter. So if C is in capital, so that has to be converted into lowercase. So this mark is given. See how the examples are shown. M is middle school, name of the school is middle school. Winter, okay, common noun. So here we have W, small letters. So insert, this is the mark of insert. A missing word, letter or punctuation mark. So this word is missed. So you put this insert. Okay. And where is this used? This V sign for insertion, especially for those that are there in the superscript, say quotations, inverted commas. Okay, comma, close comma. So you have to put this sign, inverted V, and then put comma on the top. But if it is ordinary comma, you have to just use this inverted V sign. Okay. Whatever is to be inserted within this line, okay. But above the line, you have to use this particular mark, V mark, and below the line, the inverted V sign. So between the words, you have a single space. So if you want to close the space, if someone has given double space or triple space, or there is a space that is not required, say somebody. Okay. This somebody is a single word, but by mistake that space is there. So you want to close up the space. So this is a symbol for closing up the space. Delete and close up. Delete and close up. Okay. So see Q, if you just delete that Q, this is a delete sign. And then what will the typist do? We'll just delete this alphabet without closing. The correct spelling of etiquette is ETIQUETTE. Single Q is used. So delete and close. Okay, delete a word, letter or punctuation mark. See how this is used. Deletion. Simply delete a word, letter or punctuation mark. So this word has to be deleted, so you just delete. Spell out. Yeah. This is the symbol SP. So 30, THIRTY. This is numerical and this is in words. So spell out. Say one ST is written first, but you want to spell that. So FIRST. So just cut it, SP, and you have to mention this, how is to be spelled. Change the word or letters of words. These are the basic symbols. Okay, change the order or letter of words. Usually when we type, letters go ORI. So RUSH, that is the right spelling. So U has to be placed after R. So this is the symbol. Okay, TR, move the circle word to the place, transfer. Okay, this is a shortening of transfer, marked by the arrow. So this has to be transferred there. Okay, TR, that is the symbol used. Okay, so you enclose that. So show the arrow sign where it has to be transferred and write TR on the margin. So add a period in the text. So give that dot and encircle that dot. Add comma. This is the symbol we use, add comma. So if someone has missed space, add space. Okay. So this is a common mistake. So we have to insert a space, add space. So we have to point out where to add space and then put this hashtag mark. So add colon. So this bar and colon. So wherever it is to be used, so colon has to be inserted here. So add colon. Add a semicolon. Similarly, add a semicolon. So add a hyphen. There is the insert hyphen. So hyphen mark is placed on the top of insert sign. Use the apostrophe. Insert sign is there and then apostrophe. The insert quotation mark, again the same. What type of quotation mark? Open quotation, close quotation. In this way, it has to be done. Stet, margin, stay. Let marked text stay as written. Place text 3 dots under the original text. Okay. So by mistake, you have deleted this one. Okay, by mistake, you have deleted this one. How will you show that to the typist? So you put 3 dots and write STET, means stay as it is, as it was. So this is a kind of revision that is done. In any case, say if you have done this one, this mark, or if you have done this one mark, just put 3 dots and write STET. So these are the basic proofreading symbols that are used. Okay, as you have this text, so I would ask you just to memorize these symbols. Okay, for the practical test.
I can't understand the last one, sir. Please repeat it.
Yeah, last one. Say a sentence you have rectified. Okay, and by mistake you have deleted this portion. Rather, you have deleted this with this sign. Okay, my father was rather angry at me. So you have deleted this out of mistake, but you want the word rather to stay there. Is it clear? So how will you show that to the typist? You
Yes,
put 3 dots.
Sir,
You put 3 dots and write STET. STET means stay. Okay, let the mark text stay as written. Okay, this is a cross rectification.
sir,
Yes,
hello, sir. In case of add a semicolon,
yes.
there is still a space to add semicolon in original version. So why do we use that imitate version, okay, sir? Add a semicolon, there is a place, there is still a place to add semicolon there. So why
Yeah,
do we use this semicolon?
this semicolon. Say add a semicolon. This is a symbol used. Okay, add a semicolon. This symbol is used. This bar is used to show where it has to be placed. Okay, usually in some cases it happens so that you do not have space to write the symbols. So on the right hand margin, so once you have placed this on the right hand margin, usually it is done. So this is a text that you are seeing on the screen is just to tell you what the symbols are. But usually the marks are all placed in the margins in a chronological order. Okay, place our
But then, sir, it should be placed above the line, but it is already placed between the lines. It means that there is still a place.
I could not get the question. So you are talking about colon and semicolon. Both these
Sir, I am talking about semicolon. So you are talking that there is no, in case of there is no place available there, then we should use this symbol. But I can see that there is still a place. And in other case, they are above the line. All the symbols are above the line. But in this case, semicolon and add a colon, this symbol is used between the line, between the words. Why that, sir?
it is to show you how the symbol is inserted. I said no, usually in the TypeScript that you edit, proofread, that space is not there. Okay, as the space is there, it is just for convenience sake. It has been shown like this. But usually on the right margin, you have to write the symbol. This symbol has to be written. And insert sign is given. Okay, insert. You remember the insert sign? Insert sign. This is insert sign. Missing word, letter, punctuation mark. So this insert sign is usually used. Is it clear? As because in this TypeScript, you can see large alphabets, but in usually in the book form, when you look at that, the space is so little that you cannot put the symbols inside. You cannot put the symbols. So in that case, you have to put the symbols outside the margin. The symbols are to be placed outside the margin. Just to show you,
Okay, sir. Got that.
okay, just for convenience, they have shown it like this. But usually just a bar mark has to be done here or insert sign has to be done. And then on the right margin, you have to put this symbol. This symbol means add symbol, insert a semicolon. Is it clear? Can I make the thing clear?
Clear.
So this has to be done in the practical proofreading. So this entire book contains so many examples of proofreading. Okay. Even the correction sheets are given. If you want to pursue a career in copy editing, you can go through this entire book. Okay, it is like a course book on copy editing. How to build your proofreading skills. So for your assessment for this particular test, you will be given a paper. So you have to rectify that and then take a scan of that and send it to me. I will give you the task later on. Okay, don't worry regarding that. So you have to just learn the symbols and put the symbols, how the symbols are put there.
Sir, repeat the task again.
For the task, I would be giving you a passage that has full of mistakes. Okay, passage with mistakes, errors. And you have to use the proofreading symbols to rectify that. Okay, rectify that and then take an image of that and send it to me. That will be a part of the task. I will be going for multiple tasks. So once you have prepared the book, Monday when we will sit, I will try to assign you the task. For that, I ask you to prepare a book based on newspaper. Even newspaper articles contain so many mistakes. And if you can identify mistakes in that published text, that means you are trained. So we will go for that. And I will be sending you some text for proofreading. Okay, through mail I will be sending you some text for proof correction. So this was the first. Second, we are talking about the language essentials. Okay, I now move on to language essentials. So we are at least familiar with the copywriting, copy editing symbols. So we have become familiar with the copy editing symbols. So next thing that I am going to show you the language essentials. Okay, language essentials. So this is again a copy that I have already sent you, a PDF. Quick reference, this is a AP, Associate Press Style Guide. One of the oldest publishing Associate Press, 1848. New York newspapers wish to pool resources for gathering international news. So large scale employment is done and they have now made us ready reference guide. So you have to memorize the entire thing. Okay, quick reference taken from the Associate Press style book. It's a manual. Okay, from the 6th edition, I have just, this PDF contains a few examples.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, are all these tasks are regarded to be as internal exam that you are taking on?
Yes, AECC, this paper, AECC paper. So as I referred to this paper in the opening slide of the PowerPoint, just I'm going back to that opening slide. So you have got hands-on exercise in copy editing using the theoretical knowledge. For the course evaluation, theory is 10 marks and practical is 15 marks. Okay, theory is 10 marks and practical is 15 marks. So proofreading is a part of the practical. Okay.
Okay.
And the book that you are making now from the
Yes.
newspaper is also a part of the practical. So I will be assigning you tasks. These are all part of the practical.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and the theory mark 10 marks, that I will decide how to conduct a test on that, on the theoretical portion. So what is discussed here is the part of your part and parcel. Everything is internal in this paper. Okay, you don't have to sit for an end semester examination. And we shall complete the entire thing within 15th of November. Okay, all the internals, these are to be done within 15th of November. Okay, so
Okay,
look at the presentation. The manual you can see on the screen. Can you see on the screen?
No, sir.
Associate Press Style Guide.
Yes,
Is
sir.
it visible on the screen?
Yes, sir.
So please pin the PowerPoint. Instead of pinning me up, I am much pinned and I am scrolling with pin. I should keep this camera off. Okay.
Yes, now we can
Instead
Yes,
of pinning my photo, you pin up that screen. Now you can see. Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just we go for reading. So the same copy has been sent to you. The same PDF file has been sent to you. So this is a short history of that AP style sheet, how this has been generated, and from that manual, style book manual, we have this summary. Okay, spell out the number 1 through 9 for 10 and up. Arabic numerals, spell out numerals that start a sentence. Okay. 27. See, hyphen is used 27. So exception to the rule. These are some of the rules that are there, especially related to numbers. So you need to know all these rules related to numbers. Can you read, or I shall read? The figures 1, 2, 10, 101 and so on, and the corresponding words 1, 2, 10, 1 on are called cardinal numbers. First, second, third. Yes, you know this. First, second, third, 10th. These are called ordinal numbers. 101st and so on, ordinal numbers. Large numbers use a hyphen to connect a word ending in Y to another word. Say 21, 143. So 143, if that is, where do you place the hyphen after the word ending Y? 43, 76,000. This is the correct usage. 87. So do not use commas between other separate words that are part of number. 1155. Spell out casual expressions. Okay, spell out casual expressions. So 1,000 times. Don't write 1000. Okay. So if you are writing a million times, don't write 100050. Don't place that. Okay. Proper names. Use words or numerals according to an organization's practice. Okay. Whatever the name is, actual name is. Say Google Meet, G and M are capital. So that capitalization should be used in case of proper names. Abbreviation, the second rule for abbreviation. United States has its own. As a noun, United States. The primary left for the United States yesterday. Okay, as an adjective, US. See, punctuations are used, U stop, S stop, without space. Okay, US without space, no space is used. A US soldier was killed. Why article A is used? Because the sound is that of a conjunction. Sorry, that of a consonant. Here sound is used. Therefore, A, article A. So, a US soldier was killed in Baghdad yesterday. As part of organization names, so AP style book under US. Okay, you can see this, consult this if you want to know the detail. Spell out the name of the states in a text when they appear alone. The wildfire continues to rage through Southern California yesterday. Abbreviate them when they appear in conjunction with the names of the city, town, village. So when you are giving the address, so you can use Massachusetts. So MASS stop. So do not abbreviate Alaska, Hawaii, because abbreviations are not used in case of these names. See the abbreviations that are commonly used. So every publishing industry has a style sheet, and usually that style sheet has to be followed. These are the abbreviations that are used with reference to the states in the USA. The elections are going on, so if you use this abbreviation, that abbreviation will be known by all. But if you start to create your own abbreviations, Alaska, ALA, stop, that will make no sense. So you must know what the real abbreviations are. So IND stop will not make no sense. So India is written INDIA. To China, CH stop. It won't make sense. So proper names are to be written as they are. And when they are abbreviations are used, when they are shortened, only the public shortening should be used. Then we have the date lines. Put the city names in capital letters, followed by the state or country territory where it is located. The domestic and international large cities stand alone in date lines. Do not abbreviate provinces and territories of Canada. So our example is given. So when copy editing, don't create some new things. Okay, you have to follow the prescribed rules. Say academic degrees. See how these are written. Abbreviation, say BA. You are pursuing a course MA. 2 periods are used. No space is given. MA. Okay, if you just write MA, it won't make sense. So the periods are essential. See how PhD is written. Similarly, how B.Ed is written. In case of B.Ed, B is capital, then there is a stop, and then E is capital, D is small. MPhil, M is capital, full stop, P is capital, HIL, MPhil, then stop. Okay, MSc, how is that written? M stop, SC stop, S is capital, C is small letters. BCom, B stop, C capital, OM stop. So that exact thing you have to know and use. For dates, always use Arabic figures. Okay. For dates, this is their style sheet. In some cases, they might use this TH 10th November 2000. In most cases, 10/10 November, that is used. So capitalize the name of months. You know this rule of capitalization. April, May, June, July, all these are written in capitals. When a month is used in a specific date, abbreviate Jan, Feb. Okay, these are the abbreviations that are used. Okay, these are the commonly accepted, but after abbreviation, you have to put the full stop. Okay, the period marks should be there. When a phrase lists only a month, a year, do not separate the month and the year with commas. Okay, February, comma 1980, no, don't separate. When the phrase lists only a month and year, and if the date is there 10 February, comma 1980, if the date is mentioned, don't put a comma after 10. When a phrase refers to a month, day or year, set up the year with commas. So these are the language essentials you must know. So your task is to memorize this entire PDF, this one. Okay. In the previous PDF, memorize the symbols, and here you memorize this entire rules, because these are related to your punctuation rules and grammar rules. Use figures except for noon and midnight. Okay, say 12 noon. Don't write 12 n. Okay, 12 midnight. So you have to write midnight. Otherwise, AM, PM. These are used. So use a colon to separate hours from minutes. Okay, colon to separate hours from minutes. The AM, how is it? It is written A stop, M stop. This is the American style. AM has to be written. PM also has to be written in the same way. Okay. When you are giving o'clock, see O is small letters. 4 o'clock. Now come to punctuation mark. So this is prescriptive. Okay, for your test, I am prescribing these rules, punctuation rules. So every print or publishing industry company has its own rules, style sheet. So for this course, I am prescribing this particular style sheet, AP style sheet for your proofreading. Okay, plural nouns ending S, add only an apostrophe. Okay, girls says apostrophe. Toys, plural. Okay, girls says toys. Toys is a plural. See, after S there is an apostrophe. So if the name is Girls College. So you have to put apostrophe after S. Okay, states is, it's a plural, apostrophe. Okay, no S is required. For singular common noun ending S, again remember singular common nouns ending with S. So Dickens. Okay, Dickens. Dickens is a name, no? So in case of Dickens, so this style sheet says that you don't have to put apostrophe S. In the British style, in England, UK, you have to put an apostrophe S after Dickens. Dickens, apostrophe S. Keats, Keats, apostrophe S. Okay, but American style allows this. Okay, hostesses. Hostess is the name of a single person, apostrophe S. Witness, again single, apostrophe S. So if it is a plural, witnesses account. So at the end, SSES apostrophe, witnesses account. So singular proper noun names in American style, they are not using apostrophe S. Just S apostrophe they are marking. Singular proper noun, they are using again prince apostrophe S. Plural, single letter, they are putting apostrophe S. Okay. So keep this style sheet at hand when you are proofreading. So if any confusion is there, just cross check. What is the type of usage expected? So in case of colon, capitalize the first word after colon only if it is a proper noun. So last day we were talking about the subtitle. Similarly, after colon, if the quotation contains a capital letter, usually in the bracket, third bracket, we have to put that in a small letter. So he promised this, colon, the company will make good all the losses. But colon, there was 3. So capitalize the first word after the colon only if the proper noun or the start of a complete sentence. Start of a complete sentence. So this is a complete sentence, the company will make good. So to be or not to be, that is the question. So when you are using that, you are using quotations also. So that can be used in capital. Okay. Again, there is a complete sentence. There were 3 considerations. Here see, after colon sign, everything is in a small letter. But here we have a complete sentence. There were 3 considerations: expense, time, and feasibility, then full stop. Colons go outside quotation mark. Okay, outside quotation mark, colons go, unless they are part of the quoted material. Okay. So comma, do not put a comma before a conjunction. Before and, don't put. Before but, don't put comma. In a simple series, John, Paul, George, don't put a comma after George. Red, white, and blue, don't put a comma. Use a comma to set off a person's hometown and age. So John Doe, Faringham, was absent. John Blow, comma 34, his age. So actually these are clauses, therefore comma separated by comma, pause. So clauses come after the end of pause. So pause has to be there, comma has to be there. Dash, make a dash by striking the hyphen key twice. In the keyboard if you are working, so if you tap the dash twice, that will turn into this. Hyphen is turned into dash. Okay. Use a dash after date line. This is dash, this is not hyphen. Okay, there is a difference between hyphen and dash. Hyphen, you don't have any space in between. Then the rule for hyphen, use a hyphen for compound adjectives before the noun: well-known actor, full-time job, 20-year sentence. Do not use a hyphen when the compound modifier occurs after the verb. The actor was well-known, her job became full-time. Okay, do not put hyphen in this case. Do not use a hyphen to denote an abrupt change in the sentence. Okay, use a dash. Okay, there should be space in between. Okay, so this is also typographical error. Parenthesis, the perceived need for parenthesis is an indication that your sentence is becoming contorted. Try to rewrite the sentence. Okay, putting the incidental information in commas, dashes or another sentence. If you do not use parentheses, follow these guidelines. So often we use bracket. So in creative writing, that is allowed. That may suggest a side or tone down address. But usually in technical writings, try to avoid parentheses. Use that as a clause. If the material is inside a sentence, place the period outside the parenthesis. Okay, if bracket is closing, parenthesis is closing, put the full stop after the parenthesis. If the parenthetical statement is complete, independent sentence, place the period inside the parenthesis. So the use of the period sign. Use a single space after the period at the end of the sentence. Okay, a space is used. Do not put a space between initials. Say Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Okay, B.R. B stop, R stop, then space Ambedkar. G.K. Chesterton. So see how it is used. Says B. Sarkar. S stop, B stop, Sarkar. Okay. So the space should not be there. Quotation marks. The rules of the quotation mark according to the style sheet. In dialogue, each person's words are placed. So you can handle this, I think. How to write technical terms, how to put the titles. So I have sent this one to you. You go through this, try to memorize this. So this is the theory part. Okay, theory part. The entire text that I have given you is the theory part. Just 6 pages. Okay, not too much. It's a theory part for language essentials. Okay. Memorize the symbols, memorize this one. And for the practical part, we have already started our work. I will give you assignment. So next Monday when we meet, we will have detailed discussion regarding the next section.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So any question? If you have any question, you can raise questions, ask questions if you have any. Thank you very much for your attention. Okay, we will meet again.
Sir, can you stop recording?
Yeah, I am stopping recording.